Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So, this is probably the last episode for the day. It's been quite a crazy one so far, but a very exciting one, and one that I did not expect because I kind of thought we were done with good old Sauron, but apparently Wizards is like, you know what? We got a lot of creatures to fill. Let's just use very specific creatures again and again and again. I'm not saying anything wrong with that. I just don't know how many Saurons are going to be. And when one pops up, I'm like, wait, did I already see that? No, nope, that's a new one. That's a new one. Yeah, there's a lot of exciting versions of Sauron that you can make. So let's see about this one, which is Sauron the Dark Lord. And let's talk about, well, what kind of a deck we can build around this one, its power potential, and just, well, what are the new cool things that this does? So, it actually does a couple of new cool things. Regardless, a 7/6 Avatar Horror that costs 3 blue, black, red, ward. Sacrifice a legendary artifact or legendary creature. Okay, so that's basically just hexproof. I mean, okay, no, that's not technically hexproof, right? Hexproof would be just no condition that you can utilize to actually ever target it. Opponents. That being said, this is an extremely, specific condition, I would say. When it comes to having legendary artifacts, typically your opponents won't just have those lying around. Unless they've got like an Eye of Vecna or whatnot. Typically, they probably won't have a legendary artifact just to sacrifice. That being said, legendary creature, sure, they might have one because everyone's got access to basically one, right? Or two if you got partners with their commander. But unless you're running like legendary tribal, that might be the only one that you actually really have to sacrifice. And players are going to be a bit hesitant to do so. Yeah, that's a big commitment to be like, okay, my deck revolves around my commander. To get rid of my opponent's commander, I've got to target it with something and then sacrifice my own commander. And you know what? That might not even be enough, because what if that opponent, someone tries to, I don't know, Oblation Sauron. I guess you could use something else, but I'm just saying Oblation. I don't know why. Let's just say Oblation, okay? Chaos Form. Any way to deal with this creature, okay? They also sacrifice their commander to do so, and they're like, oh gosh, this is a big decision, but it needs to happen. Sauron must be dealt with. And then they do that, and you're like, 2 mana counterspell. And then that's it. That's basically like, hey, you just wasted all those resources. You wasted that kill spell. You wasted your commander. And all I had to do was say counter. And on top of that, I get other benefits for you casting that spell. Because whenever an opponent casts a spell, you amass Orcs 1, which I covered in a previous episode, which basically is like, hey, amass, but instead of it being zombies, you get Orcs. When I say Orcs, it's like a singular Orc army that gets counters on it. Because this is like, in my opinion, I understand why they made it this way. I just don't like it as much, where it's like, yeah, okay, if you already have a zombie or an Orc army, it just gets bigger. Whereas I like to go wider, because that's just, better in most circumstances. But still, yeah, you can make a pretty big, beefy Orc army pretty quickly, because again, yeah, your opponents are going to be casting quite a few spells throughout the game, and you get a benefit whenever they do. So if you don't have one, you get one. It's going to be a 1/1, or it's a 0/0 with a counter on it, anyways, it'll be a 1/1. And then every single time they keep casting spells, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Basically, you have a Taurian Mauler, essentially, for the command zone. A Taurian Mauler maker. Let's go with that. Whenever an army you control deals counter to a player, the ring tempts you. Now, this brings in the ring tempting mechanic, which has a lot of different kind of, aspects to it. I've already covered that in another episode as well. That being said, really quick, like the first one I think is like the creature can't be blocked by a creature bigger than it. The next one after that is I think like you loot. The next one after that, I can't remember. And then the next one after that is when it hits all your opponents lose 3 life. I definitely missed something important in there. Regardless, this is definitely a benefit that you can give to any one of your creatures. Just one of them, though. Only one ring bearer at a time. You can give it to your commander if you really want to. That's not going to help you with, getting through an opponent's typically, because 7 power is a lot. But that being said, yeah, you can get through with maybe a tiny Orc army. And when they get through, again, you get a different, you get that benefit. Again, like I just said, when it deals counter to a player, the ring tempts you. Of course, there's even more ways to take advantage of that. On top of that, whenever the ring tempts you, you may discard your hand if you do draw 4 cards. That's huge. Basically, like, replace your hand. Kind of like a mini wheel effect. And yes, you obviously have that built-in ring tempting with this commander when those Orc armies get through, or actually any armies, we'll go through that here in a little bit. But yeah, when an army gets through on a player, You basically get a mini wheel. And of course, there's ways to take advantage of discarding cards, there's ways to take advantage of drawing cards, there's ways to also, tempt with the ring, or the ring tempting you, however we say this new mechanic, all right? You have other ways to have the ring tempt you with other cards in this set as well. So you don't even have to get your army through to do so. And of course, there's ways to do that multiple times in a turn. And yeah, things get pretty crazy with this commander. It's a lot. In a 6-mana package, 6 mana is a decent amount for a commander. It's a lot. You are getting a ton of value. You're getting a lot. Well, a 7/6 that is really hard to deal with already. You're getting an army maker. I mean, it is literally an army maker. It doesn't go wide, it goes tall, but still. It gives you, an ability to essentially get extra advantages from, having the army get through, tempting with the ring, and then getting, extra value from the ring, tempting you as well. There's a lot going on with this. I think players can be excited about it. Grixis can do some pretty brutal things, and brutal things with this commander. Now, in this episode, I'll teach you some of those brutal things with the budget buys and the pricier picks. The budget buys are going to be cards that are less than $1 that I'm going to be considering. The pricier picks are going to be cards that you might want to consider if you've got the budget for them, more than $1. Regardless, all these cards are in a card listing in the description below. If you're interested in this commander, I would urge you to consider picking up some of them sooner rather than later, because when a new exciting commander like this one is spoiled, cards that work well with it can go up in price. And yeah, I think Sauron's going to be pretty popular. So here we go. Let's move on to the budget buys. Now, again, cards that are within my budget, cards that are less than $1. And the first one I bring up is going to be Dreadhorde Invasion, which I kind of alluded to earlier. Enchantment for 1 and a black. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and amass 1. Kind of like a worse Bitter Blossom, but kind of better for this commander because, again, you're going to be making a zombie army, which, again, goes in tandem with your orc army. So now you can have 2 different armies. And to my knowledge, these are the only kinds of armies we have so far. So there you go. That being said, when a zombie control attacks with power 6 or greater, gains life like a time turn. That can be nice, too. That can happen, obviously. But the focus of this is, hey, you get an extra army and a chance to get through on a player and a chance that the ring tempt you further. So there you go. Next up, we got Thought Reflection. If you draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. This, I think, was my most brought up card in the last spoiler season. It's starting to get brought up a lot again because Wizards is like, hey, drawing cards is great, yeah. Yeah, the ring actually gives you, again, I think, a way to loot, essentially. Draw a discard, so you'll be drawing 2 and discarding 1. That being said, when you are tempted, again, Sauron's like, hey, you want to discard your hand? Cool. Draw 8 with this, because, again, you're doubling up all your draws. So instead of drawing 4, which, again, is still like a nice mini wheel, now you're getting, like, even better than most wheels, which are draw 7. This is now draw 8. So yeah, well worth the 7 mana. Moving on. Curative Mysteries. Again, like I said, you can take advantage of not only the drawing, but also the discarding with a card like this. Whenever you cycle to discard another card, scry once. You can scry a ton when you are discarding. Set up your next draws very well, again, and for free, essentially. There are other, like, discard effects that you can really take advantage of as well, like that one that makes drakes by paying, or the one that drains, we pay 2, or pay 1 to drain 2. See, a lot of other ones. This one is not paying, but still, those other ones you might want to consider as well if you got the mana for it. This one I did not realize was actually budget friendly now somehow. Gross. Okay, Painful Quandary. 98 cents currently with reprints. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, they lose 5 life unless they discard a card. So now, you can add on even more punishment to your opponents. Again, them casting spells is already not a good thing for them in certain aspects because, hey, you get to amass Orc 1 or whatever it's called. All right, you keep getting more and more power to your Orc army. That being said, now you put an additional little caveat on that. Be like, hey, now you're going to have to lose 5 life or discard a card. Just keep stacking on these kind of punishing effects for your opponents for actually doing what they need to do. Can be a great way. And also, this is just another way to say, do you really want to target my commander? Sacrificing a creature or legendary creature, your commander most likely, sacrifice or losing 5 life or discarding a card as well for casting the spell, giving me orcs. Yeah, do you really want to do that? Yeah, it is definitely a Painful Quandary. What a very good name for that card. Next up, Key to the City. This one can be helpful in a couple of ways, actually. Tap, discard a card to 1 creature. Can't be blocked this turn. So essentially, again, your commander, 7 power. That is a 3-shot KO on anyone for commander damage. So you could just use this on your commander multiple times, get it through, take your opponents out. If you got any kind of pump effects, any kind of ways to make it hit harder, which we'll talk about here in a bit, you can make it into a 2-shot, maybe even a 1-shot KO, and make it unblockable can be great. But at a base level, again, make your Orc army unblockable. Get it through an opponent. Have that ring tempt you as well. And also, get the other benefits from the ring bearer too. So there you go. Unblockability can be great. Top of that, when this becomes untapped, pay 2, draw a card. So essentially, this is a way to, I was about to say loot, this is a way to rummage as well on top of unblockability. Speaking of unblockability, not quite, but Levitation is a great card as well. Just 17 cents. Creature control flying. This can be huge. Again, your army now has evasion. Again, the orcs don't necessarily have evasion just on their own, right? And neither does, your commander. If you gave them the ring, then it would. Obviously, if they're a ring bearer, they've got some evasion. But giving them flying is huge and get through on most opponents. And when you do, again, with your commander, you can take them out with commander damage. With the orcs, you can get those extra benefits from doing so. Speaking of extra benefits, though, Hexplate Wall Breaker. For Mirrodin, comes into play with a 2/2 Rebel. Cool. Quick creature gets +2/+2. Whenever quick creature attacks, basically you get an additional combat. So, hey, you get extra value out of your orcs hitting. You get extra, commander damage out of your commander, taking out your opponents even quicker. Yeah, there's nothing to not like about this card. And actually, there are only so many extra combat spells. After, Ishin came out, everyone's like, oh my god, extra combat! Ah! And so, there's just extra combat spells are very expensive now. This one is still budget friendly. There's another one I might bring up here. Right now. Hockey Battle Squad. Whenever one or more modified creature control attack on tap will modify creature control after this combat phase, there's no combat phase. The triggers only once each turn. So basically, your orc army is always modified. It can't not be modified because it is a 0/0. It needs a counter on it to survive. I mean, unless you have other anthems. Regardless, it is going to be modified all the time. So it is a modified creature. That means that when it attacks, you get an extra combat. Have fun with that. And again, if your commander is modified too, your commander can swing again as well. So yeah, again, extra combats can give you an absurd amount of advantage over your opponents. So have fun. And speaking of advantage, Rage Reflection. Creature control double strike. This can be huge. Again, for your commander has 7 power. Now your commander is hitting for 14. That is a 2-shot KO. And it doesn't take much to actually make your commander into a 1-shot KO. Just a +4/+4 will do it. And then your commander can take anyone out with 1 shot. And of course, you've got ways to make it unblockable or evasive. Have fun with that. Also, hey, your orc army, again, your commander's trigger is when it connects in combat with an opponent. So I say orc army, but it could be your zombie army too. But yeah, when your armies connect, hey, they're going to connect again with that double strike, and therefore, you get that trigger twice. The ring is going to be tempting you more and more and more. You can get more of those triggers too, where you're like, oh, discard my hand, draw, why not? Get through the, steps of the ring very, very quickly. And then finally, Blackblade Reforged. Like I mentioned, your commander is already a 7-power creature, already a 3-shot KO on anyone. You can very easily make into a 2-shot KO, basically just by attaching this. Quick creature gets +1/+1 for each land you control. You're bound to have 4 lands in play when you attach this to your commander. You might not, but you probably do. So again, basically, your commander is a 2-shot KO. I mean, I guess if you got 14 lands in play, you could be a 1-shot KO. More likely, you'll have something that gives double strike again, like that Rage Reflection, making it very easily into a 1-shot KO on any opponent. Again, in combination with only Key of the City. Now this is a Voltron deck. I mean, all these cards work very well just inherently within the deck. And now you're like, yeah, also, let's just, say, you know what, just throw Blackblade Reforged in there. Make it a 1-shot KO just on your opponents just for fun. So, again, have fun. Moving on, though, let's talk about the pricier picks. Again, cards that are outside of my budget, but might be within yours. And we're going to start things off with Cover of Darkness. This was the first card that I thought about when I saw this commander. I guess I should say one of them when I was thinking about, armies, orcs. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures chosen type have fear. Fear is an old mechanic, or old keyword, I should say, that they don't really use anymore. It says they can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. And so, hey, your creatures now that you chose the creature type of, which would probably be like orc or whatnot, you'd be saying, oh, they're unblockable. Basically, not unblockable, but against certain opponents, they're going to be. Just for, again, 2 mana, your army's unblockable. Have fun getting through on your opponents again and again and again. If you really want to, you can choose one of your commander's types as well, just to make it unblockable if you're going to Voltron someone out. That being said, again, earlier on in the game, probably a better idea to pick, your armies just so that you can actually, get through and deal some damage. Moving on. Aggravated Assault. Speaking of damage, pay 3 red on tap, creature control after this main phase, combat phase. While additional main phase, basically, again, 5 mana, get extra combat. Gross! Again, if you have 10 mana, which is not that difficult to get to once you get things going, and I guess I should say you have 4 red mana with that, you can get 2 extra combats. And when you do so, again, your commander is a 1-shot KO essentially. And that I guess I should say, if your commander can get through an opponent, they attack and they attack again and they attack again. That's 21. There you go. But also, again, with your orc or your zombie army or whatnot, you are getting that trigger more and more often, again, the more that you are attacking. Moving on, Wizards reprint this card. It is such a simple and effective card, and it used to be budgeted, now it's not. $3.44. Berserker's Onslaught, enchantment for 5, attacking creatures control, double strike. Yes, Rage Reflection helps you in combat as well on defense. That being said, most times you're really caring about double strike is probably when you're attacking, probably in offense, and saving extra mana can definitely help you out with a great card like this. Again, get all those benefits from your orcs and your zombie armies. And then also, of course, your commander's like, yeah, let's just take players out quicker. Speaking of that, Fire Emancipation, City on Fire, whatever you want to utilize for the damage tripler. Yeah, tripling up your damage is a gross thing, a $24 thing for this card. Yeah, your commander is already a 7-power creature. Hey, do you want it to hit for 21 just by having one other card in play? Turn your commander into a one-shot KO. On top of that, your other creatures are triple as deadly. That can be pretty gross, so have fun with that. And yeah, especially have fun when you use Phyrexian Altar. Sacrifice a creature at 1 mana of any color. This is a different direction you can kind of take the deck again. Like I said earlier, it's kind of gross to be like, yeah, opponents cast things. Whenever you do, I basically Taurian Mauler, essentially, or get, a counter on this one creature. That being said, you can really take advantage of the way that army works, because, hey, if you don't have an army, you get the army. If you don't have that orc army, you get it. So a player's casting a spell, you're like, oh, okay, well, I would rather just, sacrifice this orc for mana, orc army for mana, sacrifice for mana with Phyrexian Altar, I'll utilize that mana for an instant or whatnot, and then when you're casting that spell, I get an additional army now. I get an army, it's just gonna be a 1/1, so you're not really building up, you're taking advantage of kind of like a go wide, but it doesn't really go wide. You're just taking advantage of the triggers that you are getting, making basically mana every single time your opponents cast a spell is kind of a way that can really work for you. So, gross. When it comes to your opponents casting spells in mana, though, Ristic Study has something to say about that. When an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless they pay 1. I don't know if you ever played against this card. You probably have if you played Commander. 1 might not seem like a lot, but it's a lot to pay again and again and again. It's a very annoying card to play against. Colors for a reason. And you're going to get even more value out of your opponents casting anything. So again, you're amassing, you are maybe painful quandering, and you're also getting, additional card draws out of this. Yeah, you can make just opponents casting spells into a miserable thing. You can also make you discarding things into a miserable thing for them. Whenever you cycle or discard another card, you get a -1/- counter each creature your opponents control. Again, when the ring tempts you, you can be like, you know what? I don't like my hand. Discard, draw 4. Or again, Thought Reflection, draw 8 or whatever, okay? Let's say you had 7 cards that you discarded. Hey, your opponent's creatures are probably all gone. They all get -1/- counters, 7 -1/- counters on them, or again, however many cards you discarded. It's a great repeatable way to take your opponent's creatures out. They basically can't keep creatures in play when this is in play and you were set up properly. Oh, gross. I forgot that I include this one. Turgid, God of Fright. Ugh. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, discards a permanent card, you may put that card from the graveyard from the battlefield under your control. Again, if you've got other sacrifice effects to really take advantage of this, great. If not, your opponent's making that decision to ever target your commander is going to be very difficult for them. I mean, I guess if they control, if they're sacrificing their commander, then they'd be like, oh, okay, I'll put it in my command zone instead. Sure. But if they've got any legendary artifacts, any other legendary creatures that aren't their commander, if they got a legendary tribal deck, yeah, this can be a very brutal card to include in this deck when you're like, hey, opponent, you know what you're going to do? You want to target my commander? Sure, you can do that. But you got to sacrifice something legendary. And when you do, I just get it. And that's probably a very good thing. And there's a, card in the back of this as well. Hey, yeah, you can make opponents lose life when they sacrifice potential lands. Or discard cards. Go for it. Okay, go for that. Anyways, or just go into this if you have infinite mana. Moving on, Dark Steel Plate. Hey, your commander is tough to deal with. So, yeah, it's indestructible. So is Dark Steel Plate. Let's make your commander even harder to deal with. Again, your commander doesn't have hexproof, but kind of. And now making it indestructible makes it really difficult to actually deal with. Board wipes, a lot of board wipes don't deal with it. Target removal, you need specific target removal to actually deal with it. And again, you need to actually make them sacrifice something to do so. So yeah, it's a lot. And then finally, I mentioned, the Thought Reflection. So I've got to mention Teferi's Aegis Insight. Basically the exact same thing, but better, but worse. Worse because it doesn't double up your draw step draw, but it does double up your, or it does double up every other draw. So again, when you're discarding your hand, drawing 4, great, doubles that up. But hey, only 4 mana instead of 7, so it's a great card. Regardless, yes, Sauron is back again. There's a lot of Saurons. They're all very powerful. I don't know if we're going to see any more Saurons. We might. There's already like 3, I think. Maybe 4. I don't know. The things are going crazy this spoiler season. But yeah, if you are interested in this one, make sure you check out that link in the description below. And on top of that, make sure you stay tuned to this channel for more quick takes and spoilers coming out. Of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.